All right, awesome. Welcome everybody to the April edition of the Wikimedia Tech Talk. This month's edition will be sharing global opportunities for new developers in the Wikipedia community. The presenter is Shrishti Sethi, and she's a developer advocate on the technical engagement team at the foundation. This will be streamed live over YouTube, and you'll be able to put questions in the YouTube chat box, as well as ask questions in the IRC channel. For this month's talk, we're going to go ahead and collect the questions and then do written answers and post them to the Wikimedia Monthly Tech Talk page in the area that is for this talk. So as always, we have these talks monthly. They're open to all members of the Wikimedia technical community. We invite you to reach out if you have an idea for a talk. We'd love to hear it. And there's a link here at the bottom. Without further ado, here is Shrishti.
Do you see my slides?
Yes, we do.
Cool. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this Tech Talk. I'm Srishti, and as Sarah mentioned, I am a developer advocate at the Wikimedia Foundation. Through my work, I get to work a lot with new developers, mostly through Wikimedia's participation in mentoring programs like Google Summer of Code. And today I will be sharing with you some opportunities we have for new developers in the Wikipedia community. So this is a bit about today's talk agenda. I will talk about Wikimedia ecosystem first and highlight a bit about our technical community. And then I will share with you some technical areas and projects we have for new developers. So before I dive into Wikimedia ecosystem, I want to confuse you for a few seconds here. Some of you might be familiar with all of these logos on this slide. And if so, that's great, and it's really wonderful. For those of you who don't know, or folks who are external to the organization, I want to share that all of these, they are different, but in a way also connected. So Wikipedia needs no introduction. And then MediaWiki, it's the software behind Wikipedia and also its sister sites. Then Wikimedia Foundation, it's the nonprofit which is based out of San Francisco, and it supports and promotes Wikipedia and its sister projects that I will share with you shortly. And then Wiki does this concept of quick collaborative editing online. So all the Wiki sites or projects that you might have heard or projects that are associated with Wikimedia, they have all stemmed from the same concept. And so what is Wikimedia movement then? Wikimedia movement is interesting because it's everything. It encompasses all these projects, support structures, and thousands of volunteers who help us do this work. And everybody is working towards this single vision of a world in which every single human being can freely share in the sum of all knowledge. One of our volunteer contributors, they have made this visual representation to show how different pieces are connected together. So if you look at it, Wikimedia Foundation is really at the center. It's the key organization that owns the projects that you have heard. And then not only that, it recognizes the work of a lot of different organizations that are helping us support the work of Wikimedia in their own communities. And all of this, the work that we do, on projects and the work we do as part of different organizations is possible with support from volunteers. We also have trademarks that anybody can use with permissions from Wikimedia Foundation if they're interested in promoting Wikimedia's work in their community. But we are not WikiLeaks, and if you may have noticed, then it's not even a wiki. A lot of people ask us this question, how we are related to them, so we are not. And then we also are not directly associated with other wikis that you might have heard. There are over 30,000 wikis that use the MediaWiki software, but we are not really connected with them in any way. So this was a bit about the Wikimedia movement. Now I will highlight about our technical community a bit. So you might be wondering who makes technical contributions to Wikipedia community. So last year we gathered these statistics. So this is a geographic distribution of Wikimedia volunteer developers. And if you look at this map, you will see that a lot of people from Europe, Asia, and North America, they contribute to our projects. We see less participation from Africa, South America, and Oceania, but we really want to see more people from these regions as well. And these are the statistics that I find very similar to what has come up in the Stack Overflow developer survey as well in the past couple of years. And this is a bit about our technical contributions overview, also gathered last year. So as for this, we saw around 413 contributors who made 45,000 plus commits in 1,000 plus repositories. And out of these 413 contributors, 60% were volunteers who contributed 18% of commits to Wikimedia projects. And this is a little bit about our new developers. So every quarter, we see somewhere between 40 to 60 developers who contribute to our projects. So what really makes Wikimedia volunteers contribute? So as in any free and open source software project, people contribute because they have different motivations. Sometimes it's because they believe in the vision of the project. Sometimes it's because they want to grow their skill set and work on a side project outside their professional work. We see a lot of people who say that they grew up reading Wikipedia and now they want to give back to the community and help our editors do their work more effectively. So lots of different motivations really that make people to contribute to our projects. Some people, they stick for a short time, some stick for longer, and some never really leave. And for them, Wikimedia is their home. Now I want to share with you a short story. So when I first joined the Wikimedia Foundation, a lot of my friends, they would ask that what really is remaining in Wikipedia to be developed? And this was also a question that I would ask myself, that my team does a lot of work around developer outreach, but for what? Like, what are some projects for which we need volunteer contributors and for which we need help? And it was only when I joined that I learned that there is a crazy world out here. There is a lot going on. There are lots of interesting projects in technical areas. From early 2000s, if you see Wikipedia site today, how it has evolved in all these years, we have a lot of sister projects that have emerged. And now we are in 2019, thinking about the future. We are thinking about ways in which we prepare ourselves to serve billions of people who are going to come online. And to do that work, we need help. Wikipedia needs your help. And so now I want to share with you about contribution areas that we have for new developers, and also share with you a step-by-step process for you to make a contribution to a Wikimedia project. So just like in any free and open source project, contributing is a 4-step process. So first you pick a task related to a Wikimedia project or technical area. Then you set up the development environment. Once you have set up the development environment, you choose and solve a task. And finally, you submit your code changes. So I want to start with step 1 first, which is about picking a task related to a Wikimedia project or technical area. And to me, this step is the most daunting one because there are way too many options to choose from. So once you have made that choice, I believe that things get a bit easier after that. So now I want to talk about all the projects that we have and also give you an overview of our technical areas. So first I'll talk about Wikimedia projects. Again, Wikipedia needs no introduction. Then we have Wikimedia Commons and Wikidata. These are two of our very popular projects these days. You may have already heard about these projects, but maybe you don't know that they are also connected with Wikimedia. So what is Wikimedia Commons? It is this repository of audio, video, and media files. And Wikidata, it's the central repository of data that is being used on all Wikimedia sites. And then MediaWiki, I've already talked about it earlier. It's the software that not only powers Wikipedia, but all these projects that you see on this slide. So all these are popular projects, but then we have other projects which are not so well known, but they are popular in their own communities. For example, we have Wikiversity, which is a collection of learning resources for educators and learners. Then we have Wikivoyage, which is a guide used a lot, read and edited a lot by travelers. Then Wiktionary, it's a free dictionary. Then Wikicode, it's a collection of codes. We have Wikibooks, which is a collection of open books. Then there is Wikisource, which is this digital library of textual sources. Wikispecies is a free species directory, and so on. So this is a very high-level overview of all the Wikimedia projects we have. Now I want to share with you a little bit about our technical areas. So these are all the areas we have at Wikimedia. Now, some of them are maybe part of the projects that I just shared with you, or some of them are connected in one way or another with the projects. So as there are a lot of these, I'm not going to talk about each one of them, but we'll share with you some of these areas which we think are newcomer friendly and are easy to start with. Now, if you're wondering why these blocks are laid out in the way they are laid out on the slide, so I'll just highlight that quickly. So if you look at, for example, all the blocks that are MediaWiki, for example, MediaWiki core, extensions, and skins, as they are similar and connected, they are stacked on top of each other. And then we have templates, gadgets, and user scripts and bots, which span across multiple projects. So they are laid out in vertical fashion next to all things MediaWiki on this slide. So now I will share with you about some of these areas and also give you one example of a Wikimedia project that relates to that area. So the first one is MediaWiki extensions. So extensions, they help us extend the functionality of MediaWiki software. And Currently, there are around 2,000 extensions that are registered on MediaWiki.org. This is a very newcomer-friendly area. You can help by either improving an existing extension or help by developing a completely new one. So an example of a MediaWiki extension is this revision slider extension that lets you to browse history of a page interactively. So if you go to English Wikipedia and visit a history page of an article, you'll be able to see this extension in action. So if you decide to contribute to anything that is related to the MediaWiki software, then you need to be familiar with PHP and JavaScript. So next I will talk about the desktop apps. There aren't that many desktop apps we have, but there are two well-known ones that I will talk about. So the first one is Huggle, which is this tool that is used a lot by our content moderators to quickly load the revisions of a page, being able to make a comparison between the revisions and then also revert the edits that are problematic. If you want to contribute to this, you will need to be familiar with C++ and Qt, which is a C++ GUI framework. And then we have another desktop app, which is Skimix, which is essentially this offline web browser for Wikipedia. And the screenshot that you see is of QX running Wikipedia on a one laptop per child machine. Then moving on to mobile apps. We have quite a few mobile apps, but I think that we have very few out of those that are official. We have mobile apps for Wikipedia, both for iOS and Android. And then we have one mobile app, which is for Wikimedia Commons. It is a very newcomer-friendly app and also purely run and maintained by our community members. So using this app, you can upload photos to Wikimedia Commons from your smartphone. And if you're interested in mobile development, then that's something you might want to look into. And there is this vast area that we have for new contributors to explore, which is tools and bots. So a lot of volunteer contributors, they write tools and bots to help make the work of editors easier. So I will give you two examples for this. So for bots, an example is this citation bot that helps format and expand citation data. And then an example of tool is this programs and events dashboard that is used by educators to run courses and editathons on Wikipedia, around Wikipedia. And if you decide to write your tool and bot, then you don't necessarily need to stick to a programming language. You can pick your preferred programming language. And the interesting thing about this area is that you can use dedicated cloud services that Wikimedia provide to be able to host, operate, and maintain both tools and bots. So now I want to talk about analytics. This is a very fancy schmancy area. That's how I see it. Now, in this space, you can make cool visualizations. And the process to do that is that you make use of MediaWiki APIs, which are open for anybody to use, along with data that you get from Wikimedia sites to be able to make a visualization like you see on this slide. Not only just visualization, but also help make data-informed decisions. And so this visualization that you see here is generated using the same process. And if you go to this resource, which is linked from the slide, seealso.org, you will see a bunch of different cool visualizations that have been made using the similar process. Machine learning is the buzzword, as you might know. And that is probably why we also get asked this question a lot, that what are some opportunities we have for new contributors in this area. We don't have a lot of projects for new developers, but there is one very cool project that I want to share with you. So there is this service called ORIS, which is an acronym for Objective Revision Evaluation Service, that helps evaluate whether an edit made to an article is a good quality edit or a bad quality edit. So as you see on the slide, there's this picture that shows the edit quality flow. So edits, when first coming through the internet, are not filtered, but when they are passed through the ORIS service, you start learning a little bit about their pattern, whether the edits are good or they need review or they are damaging edits. So if you're interested in contributing to this area or this service, then it's written in Python, and that's what the language you need to be familiar with. And then we have gadgets. So gadgets are similar to extensions that I mentioned to you at the beginning of this technical areas overview. And they're similar because they also help you to extend the functionality of the software, but they are different because the code for gadgets, they live on Wiki. So for example, if you want to have a personalized experience of the software and see for yourself what is the reading time of an article, then you can just write a little script and then inject it from client side to MediaWiki, and you will be able to see it in action. And there is this example, which is on the slide, which is of a gadget called HotGet that lets you to add categories to pages on Wikipedia. So if you want to see the nitty-gritties of this gadget or what code is in there, you will be able to see it easily. It's somewhere on Wikipedia, the code for this gadget. Now, although we don't have a dedicated infrastructure for gadgets to allow contributions for from new contributors, but the way I see it, you can help either by improving existing user scripts or gadgets that are out there, or if you are part of a Wikimedia chapter or a user group, or you are a part of a language community, then maybe you can help address the technical needs of the community by writing user scripts and gadgets. And one thing is that when a user script is considered to be beneficial for the rest of community, then a site administrator, they promote it to a gadget. And that's something I forgot to mention earlier, but that's how these two user scripts and gadgets are connected. So these were about all the technical areas for which I could share with you some concrete examples. But we also have other major areas for you to look into. But for all of these areas, there aren't maybe concrete examples to share because they apply to all the projects. So you can help apply Wikimedia design principles to other projects. We have tons of docs that are outdated and need attention, so that's also an area to look into. Or if you speak a language which is other than English, then you can help translate our docs that are on MediaWiki.org. And if you're interested in the quality assurance space, then you can help write test cases or report bugs or help test features of our software projects. So this was all about our technical areas and projects, a very high-level overview. You can explore them in depth later after this talk. So once you have decided which project you want to contribute to, the next step that follows is setting up the development environment. Now, there are different projects and they have different contribution guidelines. Some projects might recommend you to set up a specific IDE or set up the development environment in certain ways, but I'm not going to go into the detail. This is just for you to know that that's what the step would follow, and for every project there will be different guidelines. But one thing I want to mention here is that sometimes what happens is that our new contributors, they think that all the things we do is MediaWiki related. So they start setting up the development environment of MediaWiki first, which in itself takes a few hours, only later to realize that that's not something they wanted to contribute to. So that's to keep in mind, to first pick the project and then maybe start setting up the development environment. So after this comes the step where you choose and solve a task. So for task management, we use Fabricator. And the task and assignment, it works very similar to like it works in any free and open source software project. If you're interested in working on a task, you express your interest by commenting on it and maybe ask specific questions. And then you can assign the task to yourself, and that way communicate that you are working on it so that nobody else works on it on the side. Now, the recommended way to choose and solve a task is to first take a look at the good first bugs that is associated with the project you have decided to work on. And that way you get comfortable with the project, and after you have fixed a few good first bugs, then you can move forward and maybe pick bigger and complex features to work on. So after this step comes submitting your code changes. Now, if you decide to work on anything which is related to MediaWiki, then whenever you are done making your code changes, it will first get uploaded to this tool that we use for code review called Gerrit. And then as you do that, a few reviewers will be assigned to your patch. They will take a look at your changes and maybe give you some feedback on your code, which you can then incorporate. And when all the reviewers are happy, then one of them decides to merge your changes. But this is for all the projects that we have hosted in Gerrit. We also have a lot of projects that are hosted on GitHub. So if you are working on any such project, then you skip this process, but instead the code review happens on GitHub. So this was all about the process you would follow to make contribution to a project. And once you have contributed to one project, you are bored of it and you want to move to another project, that's totally possible. You just need to repeat step 1 to 4 for a different project. I want to now share with you this new developers guide that we have. So all the technical areas and projects I shared with you in this talk are, you might be able to explore them by going to this resource. Here we are showcasing a list of newcomer-friendly projects with like mentioning what are some skill requires, who the mentors are, and what are some recommended tasks to work on. There are also a bunch of resources for newcomers that you can explore by going to this resource. So this would be your go-to resource if you decide to make a contribution, and you will find everything in this single resource. And I also want to highlight a bit about our outreach programs and events. So Wikimedia participates in 3 mentoring programs. There is one, which is Google Summer of Code. It is for university students. And Outreachy, which is open to everyone. But the difference here is that you not only get to work on a coding project, but you can work on anything which is related to translation, outreach, research, etc. And then we have Google Codin, which is for high school students. So the advantage to participate in Wikimedia's mentoring programs is that you get an opportunity to work with a mentor on a 3-month-long project. Besides these mentoring programs, we also have international hackathons that takes place. 2 hackathons takes place in a year, and we offer scholarships to new developers so that they're able to attend these events, meet with community members, and also be able to work with them for 3 days. So this was all about our technical areas and projects in Wikimedia ecosystem. All that I shared in this talk, the resources are linked from the slide that you can look into later. And that is all. Thank you very much for listening. If you are a new contributor who is watching this talk, then I look forward to your contributions to Wikimedia projects. And if you have any questions, I would be more than happy to answer. You can send me an email. My email address is on this slide. And now Sarah will explain to you a little bit about where you can reach out for more questions right after this talk. Thank you.
Thank you, Shrishti. So again, this talk, we're not going to have a live Q&A, but I do invite you to go ahead and either leave your questions on the IRC channel or on the YouTube chat. What we'll do after that is we'll collect the questions and Shrishti will answer them. You can also email her directly, and then I will post the questions and answers to the Wikimedia Monthly Tech Talks page under her talk for the month. So thank you, Shrishti, for speaking today. It was a really awesome talk, and yeah, we look forward to having questions and seeing you next month. Oh, and one more thing too. Everybody is welcome to propose talks, so please do so, whether you're a staff member, volunteer, member of the technical community. We really look forward to hearing about your projects and your knowledge as well. So feel free to reach out. All right, thank you.